Well, at the ceremony where the deal was signed, launching phase one of the agreement, Donald Trump was rather boastful about this accomplishment. This is what he had to say.
Today we take a momentous step, one that has never been taken before with China, toward a future of fair and reciprocal trade as we sign phase one of the historic trade deal between the United States and China. Together we are righting the wrongs of the past and delivering a future of economic justice and security for American workers, farmers, and families. I want to thank President Xi, who is watching as we speak, and I'll be going over to China in the not-too-distant future.
Now, at the press conference, Donald Trump was very critical of China, using language similar to the language he's been using for the past 2 years as the trade war escalated.
For decades, American workers, farmers, ranchers, manufacturers, and innovators have been hurt by the unfair trade with China. Forced technology transfer and intellectual property theft have been huge problems. Since China joined the World Trade Organization 2 decades ago, we have racked up nearly $5 trillion. I promised that I would use every lawful presidential power to protect Americans from unfair trade and unfair trade practices. Unlike those who came before me, I kept my promise.
As a result of today's agreements, some of the planned tariffs that were going to be imposed on China have been dropped and others have been lowered. However, much of the tariffs that have been imposed on China over the past 2 years that basically cover roughly $360 billion worth of goods, most of that remains in effect. Now, the hope is that when phase two goes forward, those tariffs will be dropped, but that remains yet to be seen. The main source of the main part of the U.S. economy that has been impacted by these tariffs has been the agricultural sector. There's been significant losses due to the tariffs. There's been significant decreases, and the U.S. and global markets have certainly been affected as well. Now, when the deal was signed, we heard from China's vice premier, and he seemed optimistic, but his words weren't exactly as glowing as the U.S. president's.
Over the past 2 years, the two sides encountered some difficulties in the economic and trade fields. At times there were setbacks in our trade talks, because on some issues, we don't see eye to eye.
So, at this point, Donald Trump is saying this is a huge breakthrough, that this is the next step forward. Some are looking on with skepticism. I guess we'll just have to see who gets more out of this deal in the long run.